Hello, I feel as though I may have failed in what I've been trying to accomplish. My ability to speak in this manner is not with par to others. Not quite as good at it as others. I used to be fairly good at student council, but I was just an alternate, and nonetheless, it's been decades, so I've taken to writing rather than this medium. With that said, I just wanted to launch into my thoughts on Syria. I think the main problem being that it's somehow seen that the regime of Assad is legitimate, and it was likened that leaders there are likened to George Washington. I'm not saying anyone is better than anyone else. I still believe in equals, but I think Washington was right to lead the country in those days, and probably had divine help or divine intervention to do what he did. I don't believe that anyone could have done that by themselves, that they had the universe or God to help them construct a more perfect union, is what it's called, and quote from what it says. It's in order to form a more perfect union. Um, I've just had my coffee. It's starting to kick in case you saw the last segment. Um, but I think unfit comes from using chemical weapons on your very own people, the people that you would govern. You're going to lead them, and how much will they trust you? Some trust is necessary to lead a country. Dictatorship and not trusting the dictator, just not a good scenario. And he also needs to atone for his war crimes. It's just that simple. Anyone would, anyone guilty of anything of that accord would need to be held accountable. And possibly the tribunal is the only answer. Um, my belief is that in the Syrian army, in the Syrian regime, somewhere there are many good people who maybe see that something could be much better. An elected official by all the people, by all the Syrians. I don't mean ISIL or Al Qaeda or the affiliate, but the true Syrian people, the opposition, possibly the rebels, um, possibly the Syrian army people, those their families, can have a say in this regard, and vote. It makes so much more sense. It's more free and fair election is a more fair way to represent the people and their needs, and they can voice their concerns, their aspirations, whatever it may be, to their officials, and then elect someone that they think is going to achieve the best goals for Syria, not by a monarch. Is basically what he is. He inherited the regime from his father, and um, I don't think that's the best way to go. Even if you were benevolent, and which he may have a side that is that way, but history proves otherwise right now, how it is, and mostly I disapprove of dictatorships because I'll tell you what is basically how a dictatorship goes, and I'll make the decisions for you. And when the people should have a say, or at least be able to express what they feel, and then have politicians they elected to go ahead and listen and make sound decisions and act on them is necessary. So I think the form of government is wrong. The question may be, if it is wrong, then can they make a transition to something else? I think it is possible. Um, Now I know we've fallen on our face with the attempts made at democracy in other places. I can think of Egypt or Libya or um, what have you. But the need is there, most definitely. I think it's necessary, and far better. I mean, why not have something far better? Prosperity and peace and harmony, um, and equality. That's what comes with. A dictator is not equal with his people. Um, Accountability and checks and balances go along with the U.S. Constitution, and like that. So if there were a way to do this, and I know it sounds like I'm trying to butt into something that I have no business doing, but the opposition has spoken. Many Syrians have fled their country because they want something else. They don't want the Assad regime, and if the majority doesn't want it, then therefore there should be something else. And this needs to happen. We as a world community, we should assist in that endeavor best we can. And I know it sounds like arrogance to say the U.S. Constitution is a good blueprint, a good role model, but it is. It is justly that. I mean, it came along later, and I believe divine intervention intervened into its construction, helped the forefathers to create this more perfect union. And I know today the U.S. doesn't look very good, but in all honesty, we may have Russia, or not all of Russia, of course, not the Russian people, but some people of Russia causing us harm. I mean, I just got a report yesterday that they're attempting to hack, civilians or something like that, or households or whatever. Is it true? I don't know, but hacking in the election was proven. Did it affect the election? I don't know. There was advertising to that effect by Russia that was we were unawares of it, and so Russia is sort of not on the side of something good in history right now, at present, or presently. It gave the weapons to the chemical weapons to Syria, and now they're trying to cover up what happened, and they don't want to be guilty. They don't want Syria to be guilty. They have similar governments, autocracy or dictatorship. The oligarchs may have influenced Putin too much. Putin may have also been programmed. I don't know if anyone's seen the Manchurian Candidate, but there is a potential that he was slightly, I hate to use this term, in a way, let's say, brainwashed to believe that the Western way was wrong and the enemy, and therefore, at all costs, derail any kind of Western-style government. And being an intelligent man, and he may have just been programmed to do so. I'm not blaming him for the fall of democracy in Russia. I don't think they had the Constitution quite right. And there was corruption. Was there corruption because the KGB was controlling it, or was there corruption because there was corruption? I mean, because of the poor Constitution, the not set up correctly. That is very key. I think Egypt was very pleased with the outcome of the election, that yes, we will have democracy. It was promised to them, and the turnout was immense. There were so many people that were so happy about it. And then I don't mean to point fingers, because I think the Muslim Brotherhood may be good at religion or religion-based things, but they came up with a bogus, so to speak, constitution. They were rushed. They were told, come up with a constitution right away, and they threw something together, and it didn't fly. It didn't work. And this is not something that should be taken lightly, a constitution for a nation and elections and all that. Morrissey may have been very right for the country, but he needed a constitution, he needed an administration, not the Muslim Brotherhood. I think they were not right to be in government, because they seem to be a more religious body, and we find that religion has no place in governance. Maybe in a minor degree with your beliefs or something like that, but God is in there. Under God, one nation under God is still in there. In God we trust. So God may have had a hand in, or the universe, let's say, in the creation and the setting up of the United States. This is the shakiest period I've ever seen in U.S. history, and I think it's due to intervention on the Russians' part. Now, that's not to say they weren't cast into desperation. I don't mean to paint them as desperate people. They're resilient people. They're strong people. They're good people, and the oligarchs being very powerful and money-wise as well. And I don't know what's in the Duma, who's in the Duma or what, but that's their parliament. And then you have Putin, ex-KGB, maybe with these philosophies still ingrained within him. I mean, actually ingrained. I actually went into something where I was actually subjected to a videotape, and fortunately it was something that I shut off quickly, and I got the idea of what it was. It was meant to be good. It was a videotape on it was on being good in society will lead others to be good, is the premise of the videotape. I turned it off because I was afraid there could be something else in there or something subliminal. But these things can happen where we're programmed to believe a certain way. Like we're not allowed to sympathize with, I said this before, with Russia, with the former Soviet Union. I don't know. I think the Beatles took it a little too far, saying you don't know how lucky you are to be in the USSR. I think they took it a little too far with that. I'm not blaming anyone, but it's not quite reality. I mean, if they had a democracy in each, a democratic capitalism, I get tired of saying this, but democratic capitalism in each of its territories in a new Soviet Union, meaning they can lean on each other, work as an entity like the European Union does. And I so wish that Great Britain would rejoin. I have apparently Scottish, English, and Irish. Irish, I was told at a very young age that I was Irish. And okay, so those are three nationalities I am, and yet I still want them to be on equal footing with other Europeans. I think all are equal. We're given the same amount of chromosomes, and Some are better at some things than others. It's just how it goes, and people need to be treated equally. Women as well. That's a new movement here in the U.S. that it needs to be done more, and I think Trump didn't do wonders for that. It sort of set back the clock a little bit in the women's movement. There was some racist tones, and discrimination is always wrong. But back to Syria, and I also wish there were talks in the Middle East. It just seems like it could be resolved through discourse, through talking. Stephen Hawking, who just passed away, was quoted as saying, or actually recorded as saying, all we need to do is keep on talking. Now, that may be true, but where does the talk go? Is it, just, we need to begin discussions, and serious ones. Not just talk to talk, but to actually listen and converse back, possibly. Maybe hear the other side out, hear the UN's position on what should happen, whether it be the U.S. brokering it or the UN, whomever it may be, to whom it may be that's given this responsibility. I just wish we could handle this by way of talks. I seriously think the regime of Assad is unfit to run Syria. It's just a given thing. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't good people within the echelons of the army, the Syrian army, their relatives or whatever. And they may be going along with their government thinking, well, we've got all these, ISIL and Al-Qaeda affiliate, we've got to deal with them, and that's what the enemy is. It's not. It's the opposition that wants something better for Syria, for all Syrians, and I think that should be taken seriously, especially if it's a majority that wants this. Now, can it be facilitated? Can we help them quickly enough? An interim government may be possible. War torn is pretty bad, so working on a new government and with no expectations that it'll happen overnight, knowing that it's in transition to what it should be. Now, maybe they drew up the Constitution and things were fine in the U.S. Way back when. Declaration of Independence was done in 1776, and they knew what they were doing. I pray to high heaven, to the universe, to God, that they can write up an acceptable constitution. The thing is that we may already have it, which is the U.S. Constitution, and I repeat myself far too often. I apologize for that, but I feel I'm not getting heard is part of the problem, and I don't even like to repeat myself. I find the need to say this again because it's not happening. A cessation of fighting should now occur, and the people who are investigating these crimes, these war crimes, should be allowed to do so in safety, and independent body. It makes sense, but the UN, for the most part, is an independent body. It's not meant to point fingers. Now, if someone is in the wrong, perhaps something of that like should happen, but this is running on a bit. I'm going to try and cut this off at 20 minutes. But the regime is not right, and to go on with the regime the way it's been, the way it's acted, is not right. What do we do? all I can think of is just hand them the U.S. Constitution, learn well how all this works, the three branches and whatnot. I didn't make 20, I'm sorry. But seriously consider the U.S. Constitution. Look it over, see if you agree with it. And maybe educate those that need it, elect those that need to be elected, make sure everyone is accounted for that can vote, that should vote. There is the problem of ISIL and ISIS, or ISIS and the affiliate and the ISIS itself. We still have that problem, and that's what I think aggravated the situation, because Syrians fled when the civil war started, and so many fled that there was a pocket of space, and ISIL took over, and as I stated, they took over, and we can't allow that to happen. I don't want to see violence with them either. I would like them to see the light that it's not right. The Islamic State is not what it should be. I mean, the name sounds great if you believe in Islam, but religion governing is not the way to go. So you can have Islam being very prevalent, correct Islam, one of goodness and peace, but yet a government that is governmental and separation of religion and state, or we have religion and, or state, church and state separated. But we call it that, but we have other religions here as well. I mean, we're a diverse group of people, many ethnicities, many are made up of many ethnicities. At least 8 ethnicities, I believe. So we may see things in a more general way, and it may be hard for you to see being just of one race, of one type of person. We like to think that we are great, and we all are, is how it is, and all equal, and no one is placed above anyone else or anything like this. I think the same set of chromosomes is a truism, and we all are equals. It just appears sometimes that some are superior or whatever. So I'm going to go, and please give this serious thought. How do we bring about a new government for Syria without disaster or without any hitch? I mean, there may be slight bumps in the road, but can we do this? And I don't want any fighting to have to happen. I think all Syrians have to agree, and it may not be all, meaning, I mean, just the majority wants this, and we can help, as a world community, help them. And that's not to say other places in the world don't need help as well, but that's true as well. So, if they could just agree to help, the Syrian army or whomever, those that have fled, maybe pick up the knowledge they need to know the right government. I stand by the U.S. Constitution being the best role model or blueprint, but if they can find something even more exact to or precise to Syria, I mean, the places need to be changed. It mentions certain places like Rhode Island or something like that. It has nothing to do with Syria. So that's all I have to say. So it needs to happen. It's not one of these wishy-washy, let's keep the status quo as the status quo. The status quo doesn't work. That's been proven. Look where we are now. I think the regime needs to yield and not be aggressive towards the opposition. The opposition should not engage in fighting the Syrian army, and a peaceful accord been drawn out, and a new government formed, not a dictatorship, not a monarchy, and like that. So um, that's where it stands as far as I can see. And I think it is the truth. I think it needs to happen, but people need to help them. I mean, and Syrians need to help make this transition. And then we have the terrorists to deal with possibly too, and they're a threat because they can crop up anywhere in the world if they exist. And so we need to win the hearts and minds of them to explain to them why this extremism is wrong and whatnot. That needs to be aggressively done. I don't mean propaganda. I mean the truth given to them about why it's so, and things may not be as they seem. You look at a woman dressed normally by our standards, and it's fine. It's okay to do so. I think God would say so too. Um, so, just please give these things thoughts, and please get me more people watching this. It seems there aren't enough people paying attention to what I have to say. I think I have something to say. I think it's the truth. I'm not lying to you. Maybe there's a lie detector that can go on here or something, but I believe it is the truth, and that's all. Have a good day. Bye.